People who played with Ouija boards went wrong. So this was back in college, probably 2018 or something. My roommate bought this vintage Ouija board from some sketchy antique shop downtown, and we decided to mess around with it during finals week because we're idiots apparently. Started off normal, asking stupid questions like, will I pass organic chemistry? And the planchette was moving to random letters that didn't spell anything. Then my friend Sarah asked if there were any spirits present, and the thing started spelling out "get out" over and over again. We're all laughing thinking someone's pranking us until literally every single light in our dorm started flickering at the same time. The RA came by 20 minutes later because apparently our neighbors complained about weird noises coming from our room. We told her we were just studying, but honestly I threw that board in the dumpster the next morning and never touched one again. Happened when I was maybe 15. My older sister had this friend who was super into paranormal stuff and brought over a Ouija board to our sleepover. We're in my basement around midnight asking it questions, and it starts spelling out my dead grandfather's name. Thing is, none of my sister's friends knew my grandfather had passed away or what his name was. Then it started giving us details about how he died that only family would know. My mom came downstairs because she heard us crying and freaked out when she saw the board. She grabbed it and threw it straight into our fireplace. The weirdest part, though, was that for weeks after, I kept smelling my grandfather's cologne in random places around the house. My mom said she smelled it too, but we never talked about it again. Still gives me chills thinking about it, honestly. Oh God, this brings back memories I'd rather forget. Was at my friend Jake's house in high school, probably junior year, and his parents were out of town for the weekend. We found this old Ouija board in their attic and decided to try it out because why not, right? Everything was fine until we asked, "How did you die?" And the planchette started moving so fast we could barely keep our fingers on it. Spelled out "fire, fire, fire," and then immediately the smoke detector in the kitchen started going off. We run in there, and somehow the stove had turned itself on full blast. No one was even near the kitchen. We turned it off, but the whole house reeked of gas. Jake's dad came home early and was pissed about the smell. Never told him what really happened, but we all agreed to never mess with that stuff again. Look, I'm not usually one to believe in this supernatural crap, but something definitely went wrong when we tried a Ouija board at my friend's cabin last summer. We were all pretty drunk, so maybe that explains it, but we asked it to prove it was real and give us a sign. Within 5 minutes, every door in the cabin started slamming shut one by one. Not like wind or anything. They were literally slamming hard enough to shake the walls. My friend's dog started howling and wouldn't stop until we put the board away. The next morning, we found scratches on the walls that definitely weren't there before. Could have been the dog, but they were way too high up and too deliberate looking. We packed up and left that same morning. My friend sold the cabin 6 months later and won't talk about why. This was back in 2015, I think. Me and my girlfriend at the time were staying at her grandmother's old house while her family was cleaning it out after she passed. Found a Ouija board in the bedroom closet and decided to ask if Grandma was still around. The planchette immediately went to yes and started spelling out personal things about my girlfriend that only her grandmother would know. Like embarrassing childhood stories and inside jokes they had. At first, my girlfriend was crying happy tears thinking she was talking to her grandma one last time. But then it started getting mean, telling her she was worthless and would never amount to anything. Her grandmother would never say stuff like that. My girlfriend ran out of the room crying, and I tried to end the session properly, but the planchette kept moving to different letters even though I wasn't touching it anymore. Finally just flipped the board over, and we left. Me and my friends were really into occult stuff in high school, and we'd use Ouija boards like every weekend. Most of the time nothing interesting happened, but this one time we contacted something that claimed to be a demon named something I can't even pronounce. It kept asking us to do things for it, starting small like break something or lie to your parents. My friend Ashley actually did some of the stuff it asked and started acting really weird afterwards. She'd show up to school with scratches on her arms and kept saying she was hearing voices telling her to hurt people. Her parents ended up sending her to therapy, and she had to switch schools. The weird part is none of us could remember exactly what the thing had asked her to do or what name it gave us. It's like our memories just got fuzzy whenever we try to think about it. Ashley won't talk to any of us anymore. Was camping with my scout troop when I was maybe 13, and one of the older kids brought a Ouija board. We snuck out of our tents around 2 in the morning to use it by the campfire. Asked if there were any spirits in the woods, and it spelled out, "Many watching you." Then every single one of us heard footsteps circling our campsite, but when we'd shine our flashlights into the trees, there was nothing there. The footsteps kept getting closer and closer, and we could hear branches breaking like something heavy was walking through the underbrush. Our scoutmaster found us huddled together by the fire at 4 a.m. because apparently we'd been screaming without realizing it. He confiscated the board and we never got it back. Still hate camping in wooded areas because of that night. The sound of branches snapping makes me panic even now. My sister and I tried using our mom's old Ouija board from the 70s when we were home alone one weekend. We were probably 10 and 12 years old, so definitely too young for that stuff. Asked it to spell out our future husbands' names, and it started giving us really specific details about people we'd never met. Names, ages, where they lived, what they looked like. We wrote it all down thinking it was just a fun game. Fast forward 15 years, and I'm at a coffee shop when this guy starts talking to me. His name, age, and even the scar on his hand that the board had described were exactly what we'd written down. We ended up dating for 2 years. My sister met her husband the same way 5 years later, and he matched the description perfectly too. I know it sounds crazy, but we still have that piece of paper with all the details. Makes me wonder what else that board knew. Used a Ouija board at a friend's birthday party in 8th grade, and it told us someone in our group would die before graduation. We all laughed it off because we were just kids being dramatic, but 2 years later, my friend Marcus got hit by a drunk driver walking home from school. The board had spelled out his initials when we asked whose name it was talking about, but we didn't connect it at the time. After Marcus died, we all remembered that night differently. Some people swore the board had spelled out his full name. Others said it just said MT, which were his initials. My friend Jenny insisted it had given us the exact date he would die, but none of us could agree on what date it had actually said. We never talked about it as a group, but individually we all threw away anything we had from that party. Still makes me sick thinking we might have known something was going to happen and just ignored it. Been practicing witchcraft for years, so I thought I knew what I was doing with spirit communication. Got this antique Ouija board from an estate sale and tried to cleanse it properly before using it, but apparently didn't do a good enough job. The spirit I contacted claimed to be the previous owner of the board who had died in the house I was living in. Started off friendly enough, telling me about the history of my house and neighborhood. But then it started getting possessive, telling me I couldn't leave the house and that it wouldn't let me go. Every time I tried to end the session, it would move the planchette to an O. Finally had to physically break the connection and burn sage throughout my entire house. For weeks afterward, my doors would be open when I came home even though I knew I'd locked them. Food would go missing from my fridge. Found muddy footprints in my hallway that weren't mine. Had to get a priest to bless the house before it finally stopped. My girlfriend convinced me to try a Ouija board even though I'm a total skeptic about paranormal stuff. We borrowed one from her roommate and set it up in her dorm room around midnight. I was sure she was moving the planchette herself to mess with me, so I barely touched it with my fingertips. Asked it to prove it was real, and the thing started spelling out facts about my childhood that I'd never told anyone. Like the name of my imaginary friend when I was 5 and the exact words my dad said to me before he left when I was 7. My girlfriend swore she wasn't moving it, and she looked genuinely freaked out. Then it started spelling out "he never loved you" over and over again, referring to my dad. I got so angry I flipped the board across the room and stormed out. My girlfriend found me crying in the hallway an hour later. We never used it again, but honestly, it messed with my head for months. Work as a house cleaner, and one of my regular clients had a teenage daughter who left her Ouija board out on her bedroom floor. I know I shouldn't have, but I was curious, so I tried asking it a few questions while I was cleaning. Big mistake. The thing told me personal details about every family I clean for, like affairs and money problems and health issues that nobody talks about. Then it started threatening to tell their secrets if I didn't keep asking it questions. I tried to stop, but every house I went to that week had weird things happen. Dishes would break while I was cleaning, vacuum cleaners would turn on by themselves, and I kept finding dead birds on windowsills. Finally told my priest about it, and he came with me to one of the houses to bless it. Haven't had problems since, but I definitely don't touch anything paranormal related at work anymore. Some of the stuff it told me about my client still bothers me though.